Welcome, embodied ones. Welcome, remembering ones. Before we begin, I want to name clearly what follows is not content. It is not commentary nor performance. It is a divine transmission. This message is for the ones who can feel that awareness alone is not mastery, and seeing the field is not the same as choosing cleanly within it. This will not resonate with every field, and it is not meant to. These transmissions find the ones they are meant to touch. So take only what opens something true within you. Let the rest pass in peace. If this meets you as remembrance, receive it gently. If it creates dissonance, let that dissonance become inquiry before rejection. And with that, let us enter the field. The following transmission is on the field of infinite possibility. Superposition, sovereign awareness, and the collapse of higher reality. There is a difference between being aware of the field and being sovereign within it. Many are aware. They are aware of patterns, systems, trauma, manipulation, energy, consciousness, spirituality, quantum theory, hidden forces, and possibility. But awareness alone is not mastery. Awareness alone does not guarantee embodiment. Awareness alone does not guarantee coherence. Awareness alone does not guarantee liberation. Awareness alone does not guarantee that one is actually choosing from the field of possibility rather than being shaped by it unconsciously. Many people are aware enough to observe distortion, but not sovereign enough to stop participating in it. Many are aware enough to name what is happening, but not embodied enough to alter what they are consenting to. Many are aware enough to recognize patterns, but not disciplined enough to withdraw their energy from the pattern. And this is where a great confusion has entered the collective. Because many have mistaken awareness for evolution, but awareness is only the beginning. Awareness opens the door. Sovereignty walks through it. Awareness sees the field. Sovereignty chooses within it. Awareness recognizes possibility. Sovereignty collapses possibility into form through coherence, intention, restraint, and embodied alignment. In quantum language, a particle may exist in a state of superposition, not fixed into one singular outcome, but held within a field of possibility until interaction, observation, or measurement brings one state into expression. Spiritually, human consciousness operates in a similar pattern. A life can hold countless possible versions, possible selves, possible timelines, possible healings, possible unions, possible creations, possible assignments, possible futures, possible returns to the original blueprint. But not every possibility becomes reality. Possibility does not become embodied simply because it exists. Possibility responds to the field that is available to receive it. And the field is shaped by what one gives attention to, what one consents to, what one repeats, what one fears, what one worships, what one feeds, what one refuses to release, and what one has become coherent enough to hold. This is why quantum consciousness is not passive fantasy. It is not merely saying anything is possible. It's asking, what possibility am I actually available for? What version of reality is my body rehearsing? What future is my nervous system loyal to? What outcome is my attention feeding? What timeline am I collapsing through my repeated internal agreement? What am I allowing to measure me? What am I letting define the state of my field? Because the observer matters, but the observer must become conscious, not merely awake enough to watch, not merely intelligent enough to analyze, not merely spiritual enough to name, not merely informed enough to critique, conscious enough to choose. This is where passive awareness becomes a limitation. Passive awareness sees everything but commands nothing. It watches the world. It studies the world. It comments on the world. It absorbs the world. It reacts to the world. It becomes filled with the world. But it does not necessarily interpret the world's claim over the soul. Passive awareness can become a refined form of helplessness. A person may know the system is distorted and still feed it every day. They may know the body needs peace and still flood it with stimulation. They may know the mind is overburdened and still consume endlessly. They may know the soul is calling them into creation and still remain addicted to observation. They may know the field responds to attention and still offer their attention to fear, comparison, outrage, fantasy, and noise. This is not because they lack intelligence. Often, it is because they have enthroned intelligence in the wrong place. The intellect is sacred when it serves truth. The mind can be a beautiful instrument. It can organize revelation. It can translate frequency into language. It can discern structure. It can refine expression. It can protect against illusion when it is humble enough to bow before wisdom. But when the intellect becomes the throne, it begins to mistake analysis for mastery. It studies the doorway instead of entering. It critiques the river instead of being washed. It examines the flame instead of allowing the old self to burn. It demands proof before surrender, while many higher realities only reveal themselves after coherent participation. This is why many intellectuals remain passively aware. They may know many things, but they do not necessarily allow truth to rearrange them. They may speak of consciousness without becoming more loving. They may speak of liberation without releasing control. They may speak of possibility while remaining loyal to cynicism. They may speak of quantum fields while still living as though reality is fixed, hostile, and externally governed. They may speak of ego while defending the very structures through which ego hides. The ego is not always loud. Sometimes the ego wears intelligence. Sometimes it wears skepticism. Sometimes it wears spiritual vocabulary. Sometimes it wears academic precision. Sometimes it wears discernment. Sometimes it wears realism. Sometimes it wears the need to be the one who cannot be fooled. But the question is not whether the mind can explain truth. The question is whether the being can be changed by it. Sovereign awareness begins when observation becomes participation. It says, I am not only watching the field, I am in relationship with it. I am not only receiving information, I am discerning what has access to me. I am not only aware of infinite possibility, I am choosing the possibility that aligns with love, coherence, truth, divine order, and embodied remembrance. I am not available to every thought, every timeline, every projection, every fear. I am not available to every invitation, even if it is loud, popular, stimulating, or intellectually convincing. This is the difference. Passive awareness is open without sovereignty. Sovereign awareness is open with discernment. Passive awareness lets everything enter because it confuses exposure with expansion. Sovereign awareness understands that not all information is nourishment. Not all awareness is alignment. Not all input is initiation. Not all stimulation is revelation. Not all possibility is meant to be embodied. And this is especially important now because many are not blocked by ignorance. They are blocked by saturation. They are overfilled with content, opinions, theories, projections, spiritual noise, collective panic, news cycles, commentary, other people's timelines with unprocessed emotional residue, and overfilled with information they were never meant to metabolize. The vessel becomes crowded, and a crowded vessel cannot clearly receive the higher possibility trying to land. The field of superposition may hold infinite potential, but the embodied human field must become precise enough to collapse what is clean. A scattered field collapses scattered outcomes. A fearful field collapses survival loops. A performative field collapses mirrors. An overstimulated field collapses confusion. A coherent field collapses alignment. This is why stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is quantum hygiene. Silence is not emptiness. It is the chamber where possibility becomes audible. Restraint is not limitation. It is the refusal to let lower probabilities feed on sacred attention. The sovereign being understands that attention is not casual. Attention is creative substance. Attention is one of the ways consciousness touches reality. Where attention goes, the field begins to organize. What attention repeatedly feeds, the body begins to expect. What the body expects, the nervous system begins to rehearse. What the nervous system rehearses, the field often begins to confirm. This is why sovereignty is not merely a spiritual concept. It is the restoration of authorship. It is the moment the being realizes I do not have to become a landing place for every possibility. I do not have to let fear measure me. I do not have to let the collective tell me what is real. I do not have to let the overstimulated world collapse my field into its noise. I do not have to confuse awareness of distortion with agreement to remain inside it. I can observe without absorbing. I can know without worshiping the knowing. I can discern without hardening. I can choose without controlling. I can participate without forcing. I can surrender without becoming passive. This is the higher paradox. Sovereign awareness is not control. It is conscious participation with divine order. It does not attempt to dominate the field. It listens deeply enough to know which possibility carries truth. It feels for the timeline that is not rooted in fear, ego, urgency, fantasy, lack, revenge, performance, or proving. It waits for the clean signal. Then it aligns, not through force, through coherence, through devotion, through the quiet authority of inner consent. This is where the infinite becomes intimate, because infinite possibility is not meant to remain an abstract concept. It is meant to become embodied choice. It is meant to become the healed response, the cleaner relationship, the released addiction, the sacred creation, the honest boundary, the surrendered timeline, the body returning to peace, the mind returning to service, the soul returning to authorship under the divine. Quantum consciousness without sovereignty can become another playground for fantasy. Sovereignty without love can become another form of control. But quantum consciousness married to sovereign awareness becomes holy participation. It becomes the awakened being standing before the field of all that could be and saying, not every possibility is mine. Not every timeline receives my consent. Not every signal receives my attention. Not every doorway deserves my entrance. Not every thought is allowed to become a world through me. I choose the reality that serves love. I choose the reality that restores truth. I choose the reality that honors the body as temple, the mind as servant, the soul as sovereign, and the divine as source. And from that place, possibility begins to organize differently. The field responds differently. Life begins to feel less like something happening to the being and more like something being co-created through the being. This is not delusion. This is responsibility. Because to awaken to possibility is also to awaken to stewardship. The sovereign one does not say, I can create anything, therefore I will serve my ego. The sovereign one says, because consciousness participates in reality, I must become clean enough for what moves through me to serve the highest good. This is why not everyone is ready for quantum consciousness. Not because they are unworthy, but because infinite possibility without inner purification can amplify distortion. The unhealed ego will use possibility to avoid accountability. The wounded child will use possibility to bypass grief. The hungry self will use possibility to manifest validation. The fearful mind will use possibility to control outcomes. The performative seeker will use possibility to appear awakened. The passive observer will use possibility as entertainment rather than embodiment. But the embodied one knows the field is not a toy. Reality is not a performance. Consciousness is not a costume. Possibility is sacred. Attention is sacred. Choice is sacred. The inner yes is sacred. And the inner no is sacred. This is the return of sovereign awareness. Not awareness that merely knows, awareness that chooses, purifies, consents consciously. Awareness that refuses to be hijacked by noise. Awareness that can stand inside infinite possibility without scattering into all of it. Awareness that can feel many timelines and still remain devoted to the one aligned with divine will. The passive observer waits to see what reality becomes. The sovereign embodied one understands that reality is already listening. And the field becomes most precise when the being finally remembers. I am not here to be shaped unconsciously by every possibility. I am here to become coherent enough for the highest possibility to move through me. Because what is true does not merely inform the field, it rearranges it. These transmissions are never neutral. What is read, received, resisted, or resonated with does not simply pass through unchanged. The field registers contact. The body registers signal. The soul recognizes what the mind may not yet know how to explain. Even dissonance reveals something. Sometimes it is not rejection. Sometimes it is the field encountering information it has not yet become coherent enough to metabolize. Superconsciousness, divine intelligence moving through awakened vessels, is accelerating as more beings become capable of holding and integrating higher order remembrance. This is not passive content. It is living transmission, received through the field, registered by the body, and remembered by the soul. Science may continue searching for language around consciousness, observation, coherence, and reality. But the sacred has never needed permission from the measurable in order to be true. May your inner knowing be trusted. May you never outsource your remembrance to systems, minds, or fields that have not yet become coherent enough to perceive the divine. May what is true within you remain steady, even before the world learns how to name it. If this transmission met something true in you, thank you for walking here. If you feel called to remain in this field, you are welcome to subscribe, to share, to leave a reflection, or to support this channel in whatever way Spirit nudges you. Some will offer prayer, presence, embodiment, or earthly support. Whatever is offered in sincerity is received with reverence, returned in love, and multiplied through the field. May your awareness become sovereign. May your attention become clean. May your field become quieter, clearer, and more precise. and may the highest possibility available to your life find you coherent enough to receive it. Ashe. Amen. Selah.